Spring training is officially here. Within the next few days, pitchers, catchers, and positional players will all have reported to their respective camps, and pretty much spring training will be underway. I know the games aren't starting until the later half of February. I believe the first game is on February 28th, but what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about all the teams that got better in the offseason, and also on the flip side, teams that are going to get D letter grades or even the dreaded F letter grade, because I'm looking at it right now. I see 1, 2, 3. I see multiple teams that had an F offseason. Now again, this is up to me. This is my opinion. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not going to be biased, I promise you guys. So without further ado, we're not going to waste any more time. Let's start talking baseball. So we're going to talk about the teams in alphabetical order. So we're going to start with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we're going to end with the Washington Nationals. And also, at the time of this recording, Yasiel Puig, Yoenis Cespedes, Jake Odorizzi, Rick Porcello, Tyler Flowers, Roberto Osuna, Trevor Rosenthal, and Jackie Bradley Jr., they're all still free agents. So any one of these players can go to a squad and potentially turn a D grade into a C, or maybe a B into an A. So keep that in mind. Unfortunately, they're just taking forever to sign, so I can't take them into account. First and foremost, the Arizona Diamondbacks, I'm going to give them a C because I'm feeling generous. They were not going to be a primetime free agent destination. I can't remember the last time someone went to the Diamondbacks on their own will. So they signed Joakim Soria, they added Asdrubal Cabrera, as well as Chris Davinsky. So they added a lot to that bullpen in terms of depth. And then also, Asdrubal Cabrera, he has aged, but he's still performing at a pretty good level. So for me, they put in a little bit of effort, although it's something that I would not consider to be a successful offseason, just very average in my opinion, so they get a C. The first A in today's video is going to the Atlanta Braves after they signed Charlie Morton, who was insane over the course of the 2020 postseason. And not to mention, the Braves are also getting back Mike Soroka, but that doesn't count in today's video. They signed Charlie Morton, Drew Smyly. They were able to retain Marcell Ozuna. Now, even though the Braves actually lost Adam Duvall, I still believe with the additions of Morton and Smyly, they're going to be a whole lot better. And also, do not discount Jason Kipnis and Pablo Sandoval. They were signed to minor league deals. So for me, when you put all that together, considering they were one game away from the World Series and then got better, I'm giving them an A. The Baltimore Orioles. I don't know how long we're going to talk about them, but they are getting an F from me because they simply did not try. Freddie Galvis, Matt Harvey, Felix Hernandez. I mean, this is not 2015 or 2014. What are they thinking? My heart goes out to all the fans of Baltimore because I haven't really been able to say anything positive since like the first 3 weeks of the 2020 season. I'm so sorry. The Boston Red Sox had very high expectations coming into the offseason, and unfortunately, even though they had a few pickups, I'm going to give them a C because they were able to add Hunter Renfroe at the very beginning of the offseason. They signed guys like Kike Hernandez, Marwin Gonzalez, and Garrett Richards. They traded for Franchy Cordero and Adam Ottavino. So on a good day, maybe you would give them a B because they did in fact get better. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and ask you guys in the comment section down below. I'm going to ask for a lifeline. Would you give the Boston Red Sox a C or a B? Because again, Andrew Benintendi was supposed to be the next big thing, and all of a sudden he's being traded for Franchy Cordero and not really much else in return. And Kike Hernandez, Hunter Renfroe, Marwin Gonzalez, Garrett Richards, they're fine additions, but to me, they're all kind of eh. The Chicago White Sox, the second team in today's video that is getting an A from me. When you acquire Lance Lynn and Liam Hendricks in the same season and then get back one of your former better players in Adam Eaton, yes, he is aging and Father Time is undefeated, but I truly believe Lance Lynn is a dog. He is an absolute workhorse, one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. He makes that rotation so much deeper, and then when you add a Liam Hendricks to that bullpen, it's also nice to have Adam Eaton, who can field his position. He's got a cannon, he can run. To me, the White Sox, an A. The Chicago Cubs, I'm not being biased. You guys know I'm an Indians fan. I bring it up almost every single week. I'm not being biased. They truly had an F offseason. I understand Jock Peterson is a nice pickup, but he filled in the hole that was left by Kyle Schwarber. They're kind of the same player. Bad defense, not a lot of speed, prodigious power. You pretty much replaced Kyle for Jock. And then you traded away Yu Darvish for a bag of orange M&Ms, and then you signed Jake Arrieta for $7 million. I have no words for that. So yes, unfortunately, the Chicago Cubs, along with the fact that Chris Bryant has been on the market, it seems like, for the last 3 weeks, going to the Mets, going to whatever team other than the Cubs. I mean, it's kind of a mess in Chicago, and we're not talking about the White Sox. The Cincinnati Reds lost Trevor Bauer, and they traded away both Jose Iglesias and Raisel Iglesias. The only person that they've signed so far is Sean Doolittle. Now, he's great for the bullpen, but I'm going to give these Cincinnati Reds a letter D grade. There's not really much else I can say. A lot of people are still expecting them to be a sleeper team. I don't see it. They disappointed me a lot in 2020. I just don't think that Sonny Gray and Luis Castillo are going to be able to carry them on their backs like they could a couple years ago. The Cleveland Indians, when you trade away Francisco Lindor, the superstar of your franchise, you should get an F. But I am going to give the Indians a D because they were able to replace Francisco Lindor with Ahmed Rosario and Andres Gimenez, and also a young pitcher in Josh Wolf. Now, don't get me wrong, Andres Gimenez is not Francisco Lindor, but they had the same OPS plus in 2020, and also, if you factor in Francisco Lindor's September of 2019, he has been below average. I'm not trying to be a salty Indians fan. Those are just the facts. He has fallen off over the last year and a half. So the Indians, they re-signed Cesar Hernandez. They picked up Eddie Rosario, who absolutely dominates at Progressive Field. So it's not an F, but it's definitely not a C or anything higher than that. I'll give them a D because you traded Francisco Lindor. The Colorado Rockies are getting an F because they traded Nolan Arenado. And not just Nolan Arenado, they also gave the St. Louis Cardinals $50 million in cash. Then Daniel Murphy retired. So what, is Chuck Nasty gonna have to hit 400 and hit 50 bombs for you to be relevant? Or is Trevor Story gonna have to be the best shortstop for them to make the playoffs? I mean, according to this projection from Fangraphs, they have a 0.1% of making the playoffs. The Detroit Tigers are getting a C for effort. I'm actually gonna tip my cap and say bravo. They surprised me. They've added a few pieces like Robbie Grossman and Nomar Mazara. Not that Nomar is gonna be a huge addition, but I do believe that he is better than what they have had in the past. And they also were able to re-sign Jonathan Scope. I love Jonathan Scope. To me, he is one of the more underrated second basemen in baseball because his power is stupid. So the Tigers, with their young staff, with Casey Mize and Skubal, and also Spencer Torkelson, a C. Back-to-back letter C grades. I will be giving the Astros an average passing grade, a C at the highest, because they were able to re-sign Michael Brantley. They actually stole Pedro Baez from the Dodgers. Now, a lot of people are saying, Baez, how can you do that? They stole a World Series from you in 2017. Well, Baez actually didn't play in the 2017 World Series, so it's not like he's butthurt by it. So do not factor that into the equation. The Astros, they're going to be a whole lot better because they're getting back Justin Verlander and Yordan Alvarez, but to me, that doesn't count in the equation for factoring in today's grade. A C is pretty sufficient. The Kansas City Royals actually surprised me this offseason. They get a B for me because they tried. They went out and got Carlos Santana. They signed Mike Minor, and they traded for a potential superstar in Andrew Benintendi. They call Andrew Benintendi Benny Biceps for a reason. Once upon a time, he was one of the top 15 outfielders, maybe top 20 outfielders in all of baseball. So it's not like he's a scrub. So when you put all that together, I like what they did. I appreciate the effort. They get a B from me. The Los Angeles Angels. I am so disappointed in this franchise. They're getting a letter D from me. Jose Quintana, 55-year-old Kurt Suzuki. Is that really all we have? I mean, they traded for Cameron Maybin and Raisel Iglesias and Alex Cobb, and they got Jose Iglesias. So it's not like they've had a bad offseason, but for whatever reason, they think that they can get by with scrub starting pitchers. Alex Cobb, aside from Matt Harvey, might be the worst starting pitcher that I've seen over the last 2 seasons, and Cameron Maybin was not good in 2020. Jose Quintana, the same thing. I mean, he was decent in his limited action, but over his tenure with the Chicago Cubs, he has been a complete bust. Eloy Jimenez has been a stud for the Chicago White Sox. I'm pretty sure if they could redo that trade, they would. Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon deserve so much more than what they're getting, and I can't believe they didn't get Trevor Bauer. They didn't trade for Lance Lynn. Not like Lance Lynn had a good chance because that would be in your own division, the Rangers trading away someone to the Angels, but I'm just disappointed, and I would be embarrassed as an Angels fan. The Miami Marlins, according to Fangraphs, have like a 0.7% chance of making the playoffs, even though they've had a C. Actually, wait, we skipped the Dodgers. Let's go back. The Dodgers, this one is fairly easy. They are getting a fat A for me. When you get Trevor Bauer to come to your team, and then at the same time, you can still re-sign Justin Turner, you can't do anything but give them an A. They also were able to retain the services of Blake Treinen, and they traded for Corey Knebel at the very beginning of the offseason. He has been elite in his prime for the Brewers, so I truly think the Dodgers have an amazing chance of being back-to-back World Series champions. I mean, I would say they have like a 65 to 70% chance of repeating. That's how good they are. This is one of the best rosters of all time. All right, so now let's go ahead and give the Marlins a letter grade. They will be getting a C from me because they acquired Dylan Floro a couple days ago from the LA Dodgers. He was very good in the World Series. He's been pretty good over the last 3 or 4 years with the Dodgers. And then they picked up Adam Duvall for less than $5 million. Duvall, over the last 4 seasons, has been an elite fielder. He has pretty good speed. I mean, at one point, he was in the top 88% in sprint speed. And also, he's been a guy that can hit you anywhere from 25 to 30 home runs and produce an 800 plus OPS. Now, his on-base percentage is not very good because he doesn't take walks and he strikes out a lot. But to me, the Marlins, they're not worse, so let's give them a C. The Brewers, what are you doing? I will give them a D. Colton Wong is nice. That is a pretty good pickup. And Derek Fisher, that's pretty much been it. Now, I think I just got a notification that they also re-signed Brett Anderson. But to me, okay, maybe with the addition of Brett Anderson, that moves them up to a C. I don't want to be too mean to the city of Milwaukee because they were kind of a victim of Christian Yelich and his slump. I am pretty certain that he's going to be back to normal in 2021. So when you take all of that into account, I wrote D, but let's be nice. I want to say let me know. Do the Brewers get a D or a C? Because realistically, it's been Colton Wong, Derek Fisher, the MLB The Show legend, and Brett Anderson. I mean, to me that says D, but maybe I'm just being overcritical. The Minnesota Twins are getting a B from me. Surprisingly, they've actually been pretty sneaky in acquiring Andrelton Simmons, Alex Colomé. You have J.A. Happ, Matt Shoemaker, who once upon a time in Toronto before he got unfortunately hit in the head by a line drive, he was having a season in which he might have been able to start the All-Star game. That's how nice he was. They re-signed Nelson Cruz. Now, they did lose Rich Hill and Sergio Romo, but to me, that is a B offseason. The Twins are better right now than when they were when they ended 2020. Good job. I almost don't even need to talk about our next team, the Yankees. Hold on, let me get a... Yeah, because it's not like we have to do anything. They get an A. Both New York teams in today's video are going to get an A from me because the Yankees, they were able to grab DJ LeMahieu, Corey Kluber, Darren O'Day, Justin Wilson, and Robinson Chirinos just in case Kyle Higashioka can't reproduce his 2020 season, and if Gary Sanchez is the worst hitter in baseball yet again, Chirinos can absolutely rake as a catcher, and if Corey Kluber is how he was in 2016, 2017, or even 80% of that, bravo. And we haven't even talked about Jameson Taillon. They're getting Luis Severino back at the All-Star break. I love what the Yankees did. They were really slow towards the beginning of the offseason, and then all of a sudden, they just said, F it. Let's just spend our money and get this over with, and they did. Now, the Mets, again, I already brought this up, but they will be getting an A as well. I mean, when you can acquire Francisco Lindor, Carlos Carrasco, James McCann, Trevor May, you have Jonathan Villar, Kevin Pillar, and then you acquired Khalil Lee from the Royals for pretty much nothing. If you're a Mets fan and you're upset because Uncle Steve didn't get George Springer or Trevor Bauer, you need to rethink how you're approaching the game of baseball because that right there is one of the better off seasons that I've seen in my entire life. The Oakland Athletics are getting a D for me. Now, in the last couple days, it actually started off as an F because I was not a fan of what they were doing, but they were able to kind of recoup some of the losses. But still, when you lose Marcus Semien and Liam Hendricks, as well as Tommy La Stella and Robbie Grossman, what am I supposed to do? Give you an A? No, that's never going to happen. Now, sure, they traded Chris Davis for Elvis Andrus. Maybe at this point in their careers, Andrus is more productive. They signed Sergio Romo. They were able to re-sign Yusmeiro Petit. And they got Adam Kolarek, a lefty specialist. He's known as Juan Soto's kryptonite. And then Cody Thomas, a pretty good, productive prospect. He's an outfielder. The A's did get better, but to me, it's going to be more of a long-term play. The Phillies. Okay, let's talk about this objectively. Let's talk about who they picked up. JT Realmuto and Didi, well, you could say they didn't pick them up because they re-signed them, but they prevented them from going to other teams, so I would consider that a win. You have Archie Bradley, Brandon Kinsler, and you traded for Jose Alvarado, so those are 3 very solid bullpen arms, and we're coming off a season in which the Phillies had the worst bullpen in the history of baseball. I just don't think that that's good enough when you're in the same division as what we see in front of us right now. There's no way that you're going to be able to be even a second-place team. So for me, I'm going to give them a C because it's not enough. You promised Bryce Harper the world and you're not giving it to him. The Pittsburgh Pirates, I would recommend sending out resumes to other teams as soon as possible. Just like the Orioles, I feel bad for your fan base. I mean, you should have a petition for the owner to sell the team because it's just embarrassing. Yeah, you acquired a plethora of prospects in return for Joe Musgrove and Jameson Taillon, and I give them an F. San Diego Padres, the new and improved Padres, I will say, with Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Ha-Seong Kim. They re-signed Jurickson Profar. They added Mark Melancon and Keone Kela. Where did the Padres get all this money? I mean, to me, the Mets have had a really good offseason, but the San Diego Padres by far had the best offseason of my entire life, and maybe of all time. The San Francisco Giants are surprising me. I was looking at their pickups and they've actually done a whole lot more than what I expected. They're getting a letter B. And with Gabe Kapler actually showing that he can be a decent manager, I mean, the Giants are not going to beat the Padres or the Dodgers, but I appreciate the effort. They brought back Kevin Gausman. They added Tommy La Stella, Alex Wood, Jake McGee, Matt Weissler or Whistler. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he is very underrated, a lefty specialist. And then John Brebbia. So they added a ton of bullpen pitchers. They got Kevin Gausman back in that rotation. He would have been an all-star if there was an all-star game in 2020. And La Stella can absolutely rake. You're borderline going on an A. I just appreciate the effort. They did not give up. They didn't roll over. Good job, San Francisco. The Seattle Mariners are getting a C from me because they did sign Ken Giles, but he's not going to be healthy until 2022. And then they got James Paxton back, but his velocity is down, and they gave him almost $9 million. But Paxton, in his prime, could be a really good, solid #1 pitcher. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that anymore. They kept their loaded farm system intact, so it's not like we have to worry about their future. But because they are marginally better, I'll give them a C. The St. Louis Cardinals, I mean, when you get Nolan Arenado and $50 million in cash without trading a top 5 prospect, I mean, you kept Dylan Carlson, you kept the other guy, I can't remember his name. He's a third baseman. He's really, really, really good. Spencer Gorman, I believe that's his name. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But the kid can absolutely smash baseballs. They get an A. They are for sure going to win the NL Central. I don't know what this projection is, giving the Brewers a chance at beating them. It's not going to happen. The Tampa Bay Rays, I'm giving them an F. I'm sorry. When you trade away Blake Snell for a couple guys that aren't really going to mean anything in the next few seasons, and then you replace him with Rich Hill and Colin McHugh and Chris Archer, who has been terrible the last few years as well, I mean, maybe you give them a D just because you want to be nice. They have Randy Arozarena. He is a superstar in the making. They gave away Blake Snell for nothing. I don't know why they did that, how they got away with that. But even as a Cleveland fan, I took offense to it. You guys remember the glory days of the Texas Rangers with Adrian Beltre, Michael Young, Cliff Lee, Josh Hamilton, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Nelson Cruz, when he went on a tear in the postseason, even though he was roided up. They used to be a prime destination, but now I have to give them a letter D grade. Like, David Dahl's fine, Mike Fultonewicz is cool, and then you also get Chris Davis in a trade from the A's. You traded away Lance Lynn, and I just kind of feel bad for Rangers fans because Joey Gallo, unfortunately, was disappointing in the batter's box in 2020. He almost won. Oh no, he did win a Gold Glove, so he was still productive and valuable, but he has to go back to 2019 Joey Gallo, where he was almost an All-Star Game MVP. Just for me, David Dahl and Fultonewicz and Chris Davis, maybe we'll give them a C. Let's change it to a C because I do believe that Chris Davis can have a bounce-back season, and as a DH, that's fine with me. The Toronto Blue Jays are getting the final A in today's video after signing George Springer, Marcus Semien, Kirby Yates, and David Phelps, and then you're able to re-sign Robbie Ray and actually trade for Steven Matz. Matz has not been good. We all know that over the last 3 seasons. But maybe he gets a reset button and the change of scenery allows him to get back down to a sub-4 ERA or something crazy like that. It's probably not going to happen, but maybe as a long reliever, he can be pretty good. I just have to give them a round of applause. The Blue Jays have blown me away over the last year and a half by giving money to Hyun-Jin Ryu and then George Springer. They almost had Trevor Bauer, Marcus Semien, Kirby Yates. That's 3 former All-Stars in one single offseason. That's an amazing job. And then last but not least, the Washington Nationals are getting a B from me. They got Brad Hand, Kyle Schwarber, John Lester, and they traded for Josh Bell. Now, the only problem is we don't know if Schwarber, Lester, and Josh Bell are going to be able to be their former All-Star selves because, for one, Lester is a dinosaur. He's very old. Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber are coming out very underwhelming 2020 seasons. And then Brad Hand, just like James Paxton, I worry about them going forward because their velocity was significantly down. And it was a 60-game season. You would think that in 60 games, you would air it out and be throwing, 97, 98 miles an hour. But unfortunately, that's not their game anymore, it seems like. So for me, they're all kind of question marks. Now, it's a lot of talent, but because the question marks are so big, I'm going to give them a B. My gosh, the amount of effort that went into today's video. Thank you all so much for watching by. If you actually made it until the end, if you did, slap a like on this one. And also, just because I put a lot of effort, I would appreciate a like. If you want to see more videos where we grade other things or we rank the best lineups or anything like that, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you all in the next one.